Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Convery, where we believe success isn't just about climbing the corporate ladder, it's also about building your own jungle gym. Today's special edition features four exceptional graduate students from Northeastern University here in Toronto, who are navigating the Canadian job market as innovators, newcomers, and future leaders. So I'm going to introduce our guests and then we'll get started. So first up, we have John Justice Abban. John is a biotechnology graduate student with experience spanning GMP manufacturing in Canada and regulatory operations in Ghana. From placing second in an AI and life sciences hackathon to researching HER2 targeted biologics, he's building a career at the intersection of biotech manufacturing, compliance, and data science. Welcome, John. Our next
Thank you,
guest
man.
is Rita Aladi. Rita is a project manager, graduate student, and ONYX Scholar who specializes in stakeholder coordination and operational efficiency. With experience leading teams across Nigeria and North America, she brings a data-driven, customer-centric mindset to every project she touches. Rita, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Next up is Victor Adamnu, sorry. Victor is a project management professional with a foundation in architecture and system thinking. Skilled in governance, agile and waterfall methodologies, and cross-functional collaboration, he is positioning himself as a high-impact co-op candidate ready to drive measurable results. Victor, welcome.
Thank you so much, Brian.
And next, and not least, is Alexa Hercules. Alexis is a biotechnology graduate student passionate about translating molecular research into therapeutic impact, particularly in women's health. With hands-on experience in antibody research, GMP, GCP, GLP principles, and student leadership as president of BioNext, she is committed to advancing equitable innovation in drug development. Alexis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. Boy, reading those bios, I'm super impressed with all of you, and I'm so excited that you're here with me today. Why don't we start with some rapid fire questions? Alexis, I'll start with you. What's your
Yeah.
superpower?
I would say my superpower is being able to lead with both my heart and my head at the same time. That's oftentimes difficult to do, and usually one overpowers the other. But I would say I've been able to find like a healthy balance between being fair without being ruthless or like what people consider maybe too soft.
Awesome.
So
Great superpower. Great
yeah.
superpower. Victor, how about you?
For me, I would say strategic thinking. And honestly, I just believe I have the ability to just zoom out, try to see things in the bigger picture and sort of connect the dots that other people don't even notice. And I would say that's my gift.
Awesome. Awesome. We need strategic thinkers for sure. Thank you for that. Rita, how about you? What's your superpower?
This question, I was thinking, can it be more than one thing? But I would say
Yeah,
probably effectively communicating. I feel like it's something that I do effortlessly. Like I can communicate any type of idea, no matter the type of audience I'm talking to, and they're gonna get it really, really quickly. So yeah.
awesome. Awesome. Great skill, great superpower. And John, how about you?
I would say I get along well with people, so I've been able to relate very well with people from very diverse backgrounds, as I've had like multiple experiences with people from various backgrounds. So I say I get along pretty well with people.
That's an awesome superpower. We need more Johns in the world. That's for sure.
Yeah.
On the next
True.
one, John, how about you? What is your favorite subject in school?
Uh, Currently, uh, currently I would say cell culture techniques, but then I've always had an affinity to chemistry and genetics. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Rita, how about you?
Literature. And I know
Literature.
it may not really translate to what I do now, but I find that that was something I really, really enjoyed. I really enjoyed reading, and many times I was always called upon to read books because a lot of people felt like they could, feel or understand, the story. For instance, because of the storybook, they would feel like they were inside the book whenever I read to them. So I really love literature.
Awesome. The power of the word. Victor, how about you? What's your favorite subject in school?
For me, I would say it's the foundations of project management, right?
Mm,
And so this is because it's a field I'm just sort of transitioning into. And so having to do the foundations has sort of given me, the foundations of the concept of project management. And so, yeah.
awesome. Awesome. And Alexis, how about you?
Yeah, for me, definitely chemistry and biology. Chemistry has always been the subject that showed me how, and biology was always the subject that showed me why. So I think that the two of them together, it just was always like very interesting to me, and I just carried it out for as long as possible.
Awesome. Boy, some smart people in this room, that's for sure. Well, let's go to first jobs. We all started somewhere. Tell us about your first job. Victor, why don't we start with you?
My first job would be as an architectural assistant, right? And the story there is there was sort of an organization or an architectural firm back in my home country who sort of needed someone to complete the designs and projects for the end of the year because their staffs were going on leave. And so it was like a contract job to just round up designs and do detailed drawings. And so I did that so well that they ended up hiring me like the following year. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome opportunity there. John, how about you? What was your very first job?
Okay, out of high school, I kind of worked with my family's pharmacy as an assistant. But out of when I graduated from my undergrad, I worked with the FDA back home as a regulatory associate. So
Gotcha.
basically,
All right. All right. And Rita, how about you? First job.
My very first job was managing my dad's bakery. My family used to own a bakery, yeah, back home. And
Yeah.
after school, I was like, oh, I'm looking for a job. And then my mom was like, why don't you just take things into your hands, run the bakery. And before you know it, I was actually the manager at some point. So yeah, and I also helped with getting the regulatory bodies, with the, approving the documents and stuff like that. So that was really, really, it was really, really expository for me. Yeah.
That you started probably pretty early, huh? Baking the breads and stuff, I
Yes, yes,
would
I
think.
did.
Wee hours
I
of the
did.
morning, I hear, in those types of roles. All right. Awesome. And Alexis, how about you? Your very first job?
My first job was high school. In high school, COVID happened when I turned 16, and I was tired of staying at home, so I just applied to Walmart and I was doing online orders because everyone was ordering everything and you couldn't buy clothes and such in stores. So yeah, I worked at Walmart for a few years during COVID. It was kept me out of the house, gave me some money when I was 16, and yeah, it was definitely an experience.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. I know sometimes it's hard to describe yourself in one word, but if you could pick one word to describe who you are at the core, what would it be? Let's start with Alexis.
I would choose tenacious,
Tenacious.
probably, because I'm always looking for things to do. I'm always trying to fill like gaps in my time. So if I'm not at school and if I'm not at work and if I'm not volunteering and if I'm not doing the club stuff, I'm looking for other stuff to do. So I would say I just like to keep pushing and finding new things to do, and so yeah, every day I'm just looking for stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. How about you, Victor, describing yourself one word?
I would say futuristic, and this is because in recent times I just took the Clifton strength test,
Oh,
and so
okay.
I just sort of have seen that it's like a character or a domain that my strengths fall under. And so why I say futuristic is because for what's to come in the future, I'm sort of overly optimistic, and I have a great sense that the future would, be great. And I just have to focus on what's happening right now. So yes.
Awesome. I love that. John, how about you?
Uh, I think the best word to actually describe me would be adaptive,
Yeah.
because I feel like I've been in multiple situations, I've been in multiple roles, and I've been able to perform very well with all these different backgrounds. So yeah, I would say I've been adaptive.
Adaptive. Awesome. And Rita.
John stole my word.
Hey, you both can be adaptive.
Yeah, I actually believe like in deep down my core that I'm someone who's super adaptive. Like no matter what it is, I'm very open to ambiguity. Like throw me in there, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to find my way around it. So yeah, I would say adaptive.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all. Those are all great words to describe you, great skills to have, and great to have you here on the podcast. So let's jump in. So recently, we had met at the Pixame Career Exploration Day at Northeastern Toronto, and I really enjoyed the time with you all. And so I wanted to ask you, as graduate students and newcomers, what's been the biggest reality about the Canadian hiring landscape that you've been faced with? And I'd like to hear everyone on this question, if that's okay. So, Victor, what do you think about what's been your biggest reality about the hiring landscape here in Canada?
I would say first off, shout out to Northeastern University, the career advisors, the co-advisors, they're really doing a great job in sort of putting students out there and sort of
Awesome.
giving the information that we need to sort of thrive. But honestly, the biggest reality check for me is realizing simply that you can't do it alone. And so even speaking with colleagues and friends, right? A lot of us coming thinking, you can sort of struggle in hustle or work hard. That's not enough. And so don't get me wrong here, like it matters to hustle and sort of work hard. But what I've come to realize is that the Canadian job market runs on relationship and community, sincerely. And so you've just got to be able to build your network, show up on events, plug into the communities properly, meet new people, be open to that, and sort of be genuinely open to learning and evolving. And so thinking of,
Yeah.
you know, sort of being a one-man army, that's like never the case. And so it's like a trap for anyone who is thinking that they can sort of succeed on their own without the help of any other person. So yeah.
Great, great insights and advice and great, great, great thoughts there. Thank you, Victor. Rita, how about you? What's been the biggest thing you've seen?
I totally agree with Victor. It's still dawning on me that your degree is just like the baseline, right? That's just primary. The major thing that gets you in is your professional networks and your referrals. In fact, recently I was at a networking event and I was opportunity to speak with the talent recruiting manager. And she told me upfront, like on the inside, HR managers lately prefer to have some refer to it because they spend a lot of time in the position rather than just throwing the job position out the open. So, and even some other things that I was able to communicate with at that same event. I remember one guy, he works at Deloitte, and he told me up that his role at Deloitte was referrals. So I feel that yes, you can go on applying to LinkedIn, it might not make any sense. Because a couple of times, one of that big reality check I've also been exposed to is the fact that sometimes a lot of those jobs are just there for they're not looking for someone, they just put it out there for I don't know, for just to feel a point or something. I don't know why. But definitely I'm guessing that coffee chat and networking is the way to go when it comes to the Canadian hiring space. Yes.
Yeah, no, some great advice there too on the coffee chats. And yeah, sometimes it's really hard to navigate those LinkedIn jobs and if they're just kind of feeling out the market, or is it a real role, or whatever it may be? John, what's your thoughts on the hiring
Yeah, I
landscape?
think I absolutely agree with my colleagues, like what they've said so far.
Okay.
Uh, your academic credentials basically just give you access, or let's say leverage, but then it doesn't really guarantee you a position or guarantee you a job. So being able to connect with people was my first role here in Canada. It was through referrals. I had applied for multiple jobs. I had been to interviews and whatnot, but I never got the role. But one of my colleagues referred me and I got the role. I didn't even have to talk much during the interview. It was basically just a conversation about my home and everything. So I kind of realized that, okay, so if you're able to build a healthy professional
Mm-hmm.
network, you would be able to better have chances in some of these positions that we would want to attain in the future. So yeah, basically you just have to have healthy network.
Absolutely. And jumping on a podcast isn't bad either, because now everyone's going to
Yeah.
see this and hear all four of you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so who hasn't answered this question yet? Alexis, right?
Alexis,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I agree with everything these guys said. Also, something I would add is that we know the job market is very oversaturated,
Mhm.
and a lot of employers are looking for people with specifically Canadian work experience to get hired for a job. But these are the same jobs that won't give you the experience without being hired. So it's kind of like this endless loop of you need experience, but no one's willing to give it to you. And I feel like that's a big struggle with people who could have a really, really strong background from their country that they've come from internationally. But if it's not centered around Canadian, then it ends up being diminished a little bit, which I think is kind of unfortunate. Even as someone who's been here for a really, really long time, I even
Mhm.
find it to be a struggle. So I can't even imagine for newcomers who have had experience, the
Yeah,
struggle
and
is endless.
I'm glad you opened up that
Yeah.
dialogue, because that is disappointing. It's a reality. And so I want
Mhm.
to, because we did talk about this at the day that we had there on careers, and I was saying about,
Yeah.
if you have international experience, like share it, like talk about it with
Mhm.
pride, not as an apology. And I think that can
Exactly.
help frame it. But what else? How are you positioning your global experience, work experience in interviews? And I wanted to ask each of you these questions. So maybe Alexis, if you want to just keep going.
Yeah, no, no problem. Yeah, so I personally have a background with University of Waterloo. That's a really strong Canadian university, and then
Yep.
Northeastern's a really strong US university. So I think having two institutions, really known institutions in North America, I think is my personal level up or gain
Yeah.
that I use. Because Waterloo is known for STEM, or Northeastern is kind of like the place where I can expand my
Yep.
biology lens. And I think that's been really useful instead of just having like just one institution behind me. I have like two well-known ones in like the biotech central of North America. So I feel like that's really important for me personally to capitalize on to give me a leg up.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Victor, how about you? How are you positioning your global education work experience?
So for me, like in a couple of interviews that I've had, it's usually like the structure of the response that I use,
Yep.
which is like my past, my present, and the future, right? And so usually I begin with like my past background in architecture and how being an architect is sort of a very, sort of puts me in the mind of thinking about different possibilities differently. And so I moved to like my current pursuits in project management, then sort of, link my past and my present into like the particular role I'm applying for and try to like blend it with transferable skills that sort of would fit into the Canadian job market. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Rita, how about yourself?
Yes, just like capitalizing on what Victor has said. Yeah, for me, I try to paint a story, live my life from my country here to Canada. I try to emphasize the fact that I can solve problems even when navigating known climates or the environment. And I also try to show that I can bring the same figured out mentality into the workplace, especially if it's a fast-paced, environment, for instance, the road may not always clear. So I always lean on the fact that because I already have like work experiences from a totally different continent world, I try to also express the transferable skills that I've acquired from all of the work experiences that I've gathered over the years, and it really works out well. Yes.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's such a key thing. And some people I know listening to this podcast, sometimes they try to figure out what is a transferable skill? How do I talk about it? But I think the fact that you're leveraging that and sharing that and breaking that down, that translation to the interviewer who might be asking the question, sometimes you really have to do that for them to understand and translate the connection there. Um, John, have you answered? I'm trying to make sure I catch everyone.
No, I
No,
haven't answered
go
yet.
ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So back home, before I came, I was working with the FDA, as I said, as a regulatory associate. But the thing is, if you absolutely frame it as an international position or an international experience, the Canadian job market will probably not be able to relate it to it entirely. So what you have to do is to make sure you are translating the language of what the job description is. So whatever activity that you did in that previous role from your home country, you are making sure that when you are explaining it to the person interviewing you, you talk in a Canadian sense. So you talk in a way that it's absolutely relates to the experience here in Canada, because there's no differences between the two roles. Like if I look at regulatory associate positions in Ghana and the ones here, it's absolutely the same. But then you have to be able to translate it better for them to understand that this is how it is, and you understand the concepts basically. So that's what I've been doing through my interviews.
That's great. Thank you for
I just
sharing.
wanted to add like
Yeah.
so some of the keywords anyone should be making use of is collaborated,
Yeah,
you led, you initiated, right? Because you would be working with a lot of teams, with a lot of diverse people. And so you want to be able to show that, you can collaborate no matter the complexities of the team. So yeah.
yeah, very true.
Very true. Yeah, some great thoughts. So I kind of added a question here that I'd like to shift to. So this month, March, is National Co-op and Work Integrated Learning Month here in Canada. So it's a time to recognize and look at co-ops and internships and other things. As I mentioned earlier, there's a number of young career inspired students who may not have done a co-op or internship yet that are listening to you all today. What advice would you give that student about making the most out of their work integrated learning opportunities, whether it's co-op or internship? What should they be thinking about as they start to look at maybe starting their first co-op at a company and or an internship? Alexis, what do you think?
I would say definitely go into it with an open mind, because you may be in there to do one thing and you might find out that you're actually really good at doing something else there. So I think being curious, staying curious the entire time, even if you have a quote unquote set role, ask questions. Ask questions about the other roles. Ask questions about how they feel about supporting people who want to step into the other, another aspect, or if they have another office in another country. See if they will support transition and growth. And I think that's the most important thing, because you're there to learn and you're there to grow. And if they're not going to be open to helping you do that, then what's the point? You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
I think you need to go in curious and asking questions and hoping that they'll facilitate you to grow, because that's what we all want to learn at the end of the day.
Awesome advice. Awesome
Yeah,
advice. So don't be afraid or shy. Go
yeah,
ask, right?
exactly.
Ask
Go
the
ask.
questions. For
Hmm.
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Victor, how about you?
So I would say basically as Alexis had already said earlier, the market is actually oversaturated, and then obviously on LinkedIn, you'd always see 100 people clicked, right? And so, and so what you want to do for co-op is obviously start really early. And so sometimes you might be in a certain role that you feel like you're not even seeing like the job description for, but sorry, you're not seeing like the job title for, but the description might sort of align with skills that you have. It's good to also apply for such things so that you know that you're not just putting all your eggs into one basket. And so for people who are seeking co-op, the idea is, try to get your foot into the door in skills that you believe that you're relevant in, or in the long term, you can sort of grow from there into other opportunities in the organization, right? So that's just one thing I would say.
Such great advice.
Yeah.
Such really great advice. John, what do you think about this? What should they be thinking about?
Okay. First of all, I would like to say that for newcomers, it's very prudent that they go out there and look for co-ops, whichever position or whichever role they are able to get, whatever chance that they get, they should capitalize on it and do it pretty fast. Because that's the best way to tell employers that you have Canadian experience, first of all.
There you go.
And also, I think when you're going in to do co-op, you should be open-minded about the position that you're going in for. Like Alexis was saying, maybe you were hired to probably work with process development, but then you have some skills in you have very good skills in IT or something like that, and you know that these skills can help other teams. You should be able to go out there and offer your services or ask questions. You shouldn't just restrict yourself to what you've been hired to do. So if you have multiple skills or you have the desire to learn something from where you've had a chance to learn, then you just go for it. Don't just wait for them to ask you to do something before you do it. Just be ready to go out there and do something.
Yeah, great. Another great point there. A couple points there. Thank you. Rita, what are your thoughts?
I feel like everyone has actually really shared a lot already, but one thing I'll just add is I think when it comes to, finding a co-op or intern opportunity, I think newcomers should make themselves more open as well to unpaid opportunities as well, because
Right.
just like John mentioned, and it's true, you sometimes, especially the Canadian, works hiring landscape, you just need an experience to actually show in your resume, and it could actually open more doors for you. Recently, I read a story of a girl who came into Canada, and then she got an unpaid intern role with an NGO. And by the time she was done with school, they offered to even like sponsor her permanent residence.
Wow.
So you can imagine from an unpaid role, she's got what she actually wanted. So I think people should be really open to that as well. And also other social activities, and if possible, become part of, the ERG groups in your companies, wherever you're having the co-ops, and try to identify with that community as well internally, so that even if your co-op session is done or your co-op session is, your term is done, you still have that community, right? You can always reach out to. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And the next question I would ask was, what advice do you all have for newcomers coming to Canada? I think Rita, you just shared some really great advice there. I don't know if you're going to add to that, but I think that was really spectacular. Others, what do you think about newcomers? Getting your foot in the door, thoughts around what they should do. So, Alexis, what do you think?
Yeah, I think for newcomers, I think establishing a presence is a good way to start. So like start with LinkedIn. Create a LinkedIn, join some groups that are part of the industry that you're interested in. Networking events is a huge thing. Networking, going to places where you may not feel comfortable, but it's the getting into the room that matters. Because again, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. So you need to
Yeah.
go out there and chase being in the rooms with people that who are in positions that you're really interested in or that you're curious about or that maybe just have volunteer roles that you just want to, seek out. So I think I would encourage going out there after you've like, established a presence and, showing your face a lot more. I feel like helps.
Great, great advice there. Great advice. John, what do you think?
Uh, I think Alexis has done a great job with what she said. Yeah,
All right, drop the mic for Alexis to make any comment.
yeah. I think I would want to talk around three things. The first one is visibility, like Alexis was saying. If you can get visible as fast as possible, your LinkedIn profile is one very good way to go because it looks like almost everyone is on LinkedIn. Everyone is trying to read your profile on LinkedIn to see whether you are a good fit. I think they can tell a lot from your LinkedIn profile, which is good. Also, join communities, attend events, like try to meet people who can effectively orient you on the Canadian system. Because if you do not understand how things work in Canada, you would uh, do a whole bunch of stuff which might you feel like you are gathering momentum, but then it's not really going anywhere. So yeah, find the right people to arrange you. The next thing is your documentation. Like I was saying previously with my role in Ghana and here, being able to translate your documents into Canadian language or context so that employers would be able to relate to that. I think that's like a very good thing. It doesn't mean that you are changing your entire CV or resume. You are just presenting it in a way that people can relate to in their own language. And the third thing is you have to be patient. You have to be
Mm,
patient. But the patience, I'm not saying relax from putting in your actions. Just be patient on the result. But with your actions, you have to be consistent every single day. Uh, be looking out for roles, be talking to people, learn new things. And I think that the compound effect would eventually result in something. So, yeah, pretty much everything I would like to say.
another drop the mic moment. I don't know, Victor, can you top that?
I mean, I would say kudos to John and Alexis. Entirely, they've highlighted most of the major points in this, and
Yeah.
I would say for LinkedIn most especially, it's like a platform that legitimately just shows like what you're probably representing on your resume. LinkedIn just okay shows some sort of graphical, or visual image to the recruiters or whoever is trying to connect with you, basically. And so. One other advice I would just give to newcomers is to have, serious audits with themselves, just as John have said, right?
Yeah.
Just sit down, really think about what skills you have, because the truth is you do have transferable skills, right? And so you just haven't probably learned how to translate them into what the Canadian market is looking for yet. But we research with patience, with asking questions, with evolving as well, you definitely would sort of find, the gap between your past experience with what the market is looking for. And so, as John had rightfully said, patience is the key. Patience is the key. And so, in that, you sort of, figure out how to tell your own story in ways that connect with other people. And I just think that's one thing that I'll tell anyone sincerely.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is awesome. Great, great thoughts here. This is really cool. All right, so I'm going to jump into some individual questions for each of you to highlight who you are and a little bit more about you as we've been going through this. So John, I know you moved across countries, industries, and regulatory systems. What's been the hardest personal adjustment in that journey, and how did it change you?
Mm.
There were no
Uh,
challenges, right?
uh, but I wouldn't really say that I had like a strong challenge, but because
Okay,
one thing is
you're
I'm able
adaptable.
to, yeah, I'm very adaptable and I'm able to probably communicate of what I want
Yeah,
or the kind of information I want to get across. I want to be able to do that. But I think one thing that we should notice being able to establish credibility wherever you are. So even though you do have the experience, you do have the understanding and everything, right? You do have the credentials. When you are given the opportunity in here, you should be able to establish that you are who you say you are, right? So I think being able to establish credibility is like it's one of the things that you should look out for, even though I haven't really struggled with that, but then I think that it's one thing that people should actually look out for.
Yeah, no, credibility is a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
Being consistent, even through your LinkedIn profiles, showcasing who you are, be consistent. You're a brand as well. People want to get to know you. No, I think it's great, great, great information. Thank you. Rita, outside of work and school, what's a habit or routine that keeps you quietly performing at a high level, but most people wouldn't guess about you?
Well, I would say personally, I more recently, especially with all of the noise going on now. I mean, we've seen what's going on with AI. There's so many things happening at the same time. Everyone is like, oh, you have to keep upskilling, you have to optimize and all of that. So for me, one thing I try to do is like I try to step away. There's something I call like a recalibration phase. It's just
Okay.
like me shutting off all of the noise, staying off social media, for a time I set for myself personally. Yes, because I find that sometimes it can be so overwhelming, and it can really distract you from your personal goals. You start to, want to look on other people's definition of success and try to make it your own. And that can never be fulfilling in the long run. So for me, I try to also like plan my activities weeks ahead because I find that time is gradually becoming a scarce resource recently. So I try to also prioritize my tasks and set them weeks ahead of time. So that way it keeps me level-headed and I'm able to do the things I need to get done.
Some great, great thoughts. We need a page out of the Read a book. I know. Get off of social media, shut it
Yeah.
all down, right? It's too much at times, and
Of
we
course.
all need a break of like walking outside and just being with ourselves. So thank you. That's some really great thoughts and insights there. Victor, looking back on your move into governance and transformation work, what's one belief about your own career or maybe even a capability that you've had to unlearn as part of your experiences?
Um, I would say sincerely,
Yeah.
not unlearn per se, but it's just a realization, yeah, that basically your environment sort of always, or the environment you're in always sort of pushes opportunities to you. And so you should be open to evolving, to sort of be able to tap into the opportunities that your environment poses at you. And then seeing my background in architecture and having to transition into um project management, right? Naturally, someone would have said, yo, like you should go into like construction, yeah. But
Mhm.
for me coming to Canada, I had seen, the global insight sort of and the opportunities that were ahead of me and knowing my capabilities and seeing that I actually do want to like evolve. That's where I sort of, st I'm currently steering my career path towards, and so that's why um I have those capabilities.
Good for you. Yeah. It's interesting sometimes the advice you get and sometimes the perspectives are even better because advice, they may not know your lived experiences
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not all advice is equal or great sometimes.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Alexis, from the bar to the bench to bio next, what's one formative moment with a patient customer or maybe even a peer that still shapes how you show up as a leader today?
Yeah, so speaking of bar, yes, I do. I've worked in restaurants for a really long time before getting
Me
into
too.
the biotech industry. And everyone knows restaurants can get really busy and they can get really hectic. And I would say there was a time when I'd started this new job and it was really busy and someone had called in and I had like I guess, taken over, as you could say, in terms of like trying to get things done and trying to, have everyone not feel overwhelmed and relaxed. And maybe my delivery wasn't the best. It could have came across as a little bossy. But one of my coworkers told me, she was like, don't apologize for wanting to do the right thing. I had the intention of just helping everyone get through it. Maybe it did come off a little bit bossy, but my intention in my heart was in the right place. So that just made me a little bit more mindful, even though I do have the natural gravitation to wanting to lead people or help people or just
Yeah.
kind of get the ball rolling. Um, I always start to work on my delivery because it's not necessarily what I'm saying, it's how I'm saying it that they're going to remember. So I always tell myself that even from ONYX Club or my ninja in the restaurant or anything like that, like if I want people to listen to me, I have to be nice and I have to make sure that the context is coming out right because it won't matter what I'm saying if they can only hear that I'm yelling. So I've learned delivery matters.
Yeah, it's like an art and a science, I think, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's sometimes where I tend to like someone taking charge and saying like, let's do this, let's get this going,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes we need that person in the room, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's based on your lived experience that's okay, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's an interesting, it really that could be a podcast in its whole
For sure.
All right, let's jump into Black History Month, which just basically finished up. And as I was sharing with all of you as we're starting this thing, I really think we have these moments in time, months, weeks, days that we celebrate different types of diversity. But I really have a strong feeling that like we should be thinking about this all the time. And especially now where EDI is very heavily under attack in so many different ways. So I want to ask you at least a little bit to reflect on last month and again, even Victor as a futuristic, I hope I get some of that out of you. Some comments about Black History Month, what it means to you. So John, we'll start with you. Black History Month is often taught as a series of events, but it's also a collection of lessons. What's one piece of unspoken wisdom passed down to you, perhaps from a mentor, an elder, or a peer, that's been your greatest tool for navigating your professional journey?
Okay, I think I would uh, say two things if I'm
Sure.
allowed. Okay, so the first thing that I learned when I was in uh, doing my undergrad. So I had this mentor who was mentoring me for student leadership roles. So he told me these three things to learn, grow, and evolve.
Mm,
So yeah, he said you should learn, commit to learning, grow, and evolve. That's the best way you can be able to achieve excellence, according to him. And I pretty much find myself resonating to that very often because whichever environment that you find yourself in, you should be able to learn, grow within that environment as well, and evolve and become like a better person in that environment. And there is this thing that my parents actually used to tell me every time that you you are not coming from uh, the strongest of backgrounds, so you have to do twice as much. So whichever environment that I find myself in, it is up to me to put in double effort. So if everyone is studying for an hour or two, I have to make sure I go beyond that and study more. If everyone is settling for, let's say 80, I wouldn't really be satisfied with 80, even though 80 is great, but then I would want to go like higher than that. So I think these are uh, concepts that have stuck with me that I think have been great so far.
yeah,
So I have to do twice as much and I have to learn and I have to grow and I have to evolve wherever I find myself.
awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's some really great learn, evolve,
Grow,
grow, and evolve. Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Awesome. Such a great lesson there. Rita, let's talk about representation is often disclosed in terms of visibility, but it's also about the power to tell our own stories. If you could choose one aspect of the Black experience that the world often overlooks or misunderstands, what would you want to talk about today?
Um, for me, I feel like the narrative so far around the Black experience is mostly like built on resilience. You
Hmm.
know, they always talk about struggle, beating the odds and things like that. It sounds more like reacting from external pressure for me. So I think there's anything I would like us to amplify going forward is moving the spotlight from survival to flourishing. Like basically acknowledging that we have or we possess a specific type of agile or high context emotional intelligence that is not, readily found. Honestly, I think that is something we need to pride ourselves more on, and we need to get the world to see more of that, and
Yeah,
less of the whole, oh, we struggled, with the black, slavery. Not to, I'm not trying to say that those narratives are not real. They are real,
right.
but I think it's time we start to shift the spotlight to the fact that we are actually flourishing, because we are. Yes.
Amazing. Awesome thoughts there. Thank you, Rita, for sharing that. Victor, we also talk about along those lines, standing on the shoulders of giants, but you are also the giants for the next generation, all of you here. As you think about the doors you hold open for those who will follow you, what does the intentional work look like in your daily life or career to create those opportunities and open those doors?
For me, I would say it's something I think about a lot because I see people who are sort of ahead of me and the sort of opportunities they've also created for me, like my parents, people who I call mentor or coaches. And so for me, it's really simple, right? And what I would want to translate from the opportunities I've also gotten is also being very accessible, as a human, as a person, and not just gatekeeping my experiences or my journey.
Mhm.
Because the thing is, giving back doesn't always have to do with grand gestures or anything like that. And so sometimes it could be, a conversation you give to someone, a coffee chat that could just, help someone who is curious sort of just get answers to your questions. And so sometimes it's just sharing something, an idea or a post because you don't know who might be listening, just like the podcast we're having right now with Brian, right? And so it's something I've always, believed that my story, either the good parts or the bad parts, are actually where value lives.
Mhm.
And so also just never forgetting that community is, very important as well. And so giving back to the community, no matter how small the contribution, it's a non-negotiable for me. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Victor. Very meaningful. Thank you for that. Alexis, thinking about music and art, they've always been a heartbeat of Black history. If you had to pick one song, a poem, or a piece of art that perfectly captures your own personal, let's call state of the union, or your current spirit, which is more important, I think,
Yeah.
what would it be and why?
Um, a song that I would choose would be the song that recently Beyonce had come out with called Brown Skin Girl. Um, because for me personally, between the bar, the bench, the club, and other things, you start to lose track of yourself and what you want to do and what is special to you
Uh,
personally.
yeah.
So this song kind of reminds me to like just take a minute, look in the mirror, appreciate what I see, and it interrupts any self-doubt that I think I would have. It reminds me that, my background and education, who I am, my story, it's not something that needs to be apologized for or minimized in any of these professional
Nope.
settings. I shouldn't have to necessarily fight extra hard to be in the position that I am. I'm not saying it won't always be a fight, but I think we need to start opening doors a little bit wider for everyone to go in and everyone to be in these rooms as well. So I think that song probably just reminds me that just keep going. Your time is here. It's coming. Don't worry about it. Just take a beat.
I love it. I love it. Well, I
Um, Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Can I add
Yeah,
some?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So about that, there is this song by Dave, a British rapper. The title is Black. If anyone gets the chance, they can listen to it. It actually talks about what it costs to be Black, what it means to be Black, the heritage, the resilience, and the contradictions that comes with being Black. So I think it really holds some weight. So anyone who has the chance can listen to that song, and I think it would really be nice. Thank you.
Amazing. No, thanks for sharing that, especially for our listeners that are tuning into this today. First of all, this has been so inspiring and amazing to have all four of you here with me. I can't believe we're close to the end of this podcast, but hopefully, did you all have a fun time?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely,
definitely.
yes.
for
All right, all right. I
Yeah.
told you it was going to be scary.
sure.
So again, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate you all like taking the time to share your stories, share your journeys, share your opportunities and challenges you faced. Um, meeting you all at Northeastern University here in Toronto was just a gift, and having you all here again and seeing you today, I think is not just here for the podcast, but hopefully we'll all stay in touch as well and talk more as we get to see each other in other opportunities. So again, I want to thank John, Alexis, Victor, and Rita, all of you for being a part of the podcast and sharing and inspiring the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
having us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Totally.
absolutely. So to all our listeners, if this episode moved you, share it with a friend, subscribe to the podcast, coffeewithconvery.com. You can also follow us on Instagram for more stories behind the scenes. This is Coffee with Convery. We remind you success isn't always about climbing that corporate ladder. Sometimes it's about building your own jungle gym. All right, everyone. Thank you again.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.